Hi guys, this is just a quick video on how to dye a leather jacket, what you need, techniques I use, etc. So your basic stuff, you're going to want to get some plastic sheeting or trash bags, rubbish bags to lay down so you don't dye whatever your jacket's on. You're going to need some dye. I like a bit of EcoFlow water stain, dark brown, a tub, always handy, rubber gloves because this stuff stains, hence it's called water stain, and a big brush and a cloth or sponge, and of course a leather jacket. So let's get going. I've laid my jacket out on the table. I've undone the buckles so it's you can get in the gaps. I've poured some water stain into a tub. So yeah, let's get your house brush, a nice big paint brush, slap it on. Now the reason I have a rag as well is that you don't want obvious brush strokes, so you can just give it a bit of dab, just break it up a bit and just keep going. I usually do one panel and then move on to the next, but if you're short of time or just a bit cray do the whole one side of the jacket. So I made some good coverage already, working on one of the front panels now. And remember, you want to do all the leather, not just the leather that you see. So obviously raise your pocket flaps, paint underneath there, some little trees, a nice mountain, anyway. And obviously you need to do the side straps. I don't know the official name of those things, I just call them side straps. And don't worry about being too neat and tidy. This isn't going to end up looking like it came out of Prada. This is going to look like it came out of Peru, or there's an airplane. Try and avoid cotton areas because they're very difficult to clean, so use the brush flat like this. I've actually stopped bothering using the cloth because again we're going to have another coat on this afterwards, but I'll catch up with you in a minute. Right, so that's the body pretty much done for one coat. You can see possibly the difference between the sleeves and the body now. I generally do the body and then the sleeves because if you do the sleeves there, you've got to put them somewhere while they're wet, and you don't really want to put them on the jacket because they'll create obvious shapes, etc. But you'll see it's I don't know if you can see, but the colour is fairly mottled at the moment. That's A, to be expected, and B, quite desirable because you don't want a flat colour, but that'll go on the whole when you do the second coat. When you do actually hit a panel that you're not wanting to work on completely, just feather it with the brush a bit just so it doesn't create a harsh line. It's actually really warm in England today, shocking, so this shouldn't take long to dry, and I'll move on to the sleeves, let those dry, and then do a second coat on the body. Right, moving on to a sleeve now. There's nothing special about doing the sleeve, just identical. Whack it on. Again, don't worry about going over other areas twice. If you're hearing kids in the background, that's because I live next to a school. I don't keep children in my basement. And obviously with the sleeves, there are inside areas to do, but I'll do that later so they don't clang together. I'll do that with when I do touch-ups, so the other side of the collar, the inside of the storm flap, etc. So small areas I leave till the end, and let's carry on. Now a touch-up bit, we've got the inside of the collar, which is actually the outside of the collar on the hole because it'll be folded down, and again, like with the zip area, just be careful. It doesn't matter much, but if you can miss the cotton. It's just a preference really. You don't have blotchy cotton. Again, getting the seams, because you actually want inside of the seams darker than the outside of the seams. Get underneath coat hook loop. Never use a coat loop, by the way. Use a nice sturdy suit hanger if you're hanging your jacket, or stick it on a mannequin, or just crumple it on the floor. I'm running a bit low here, so once the collar's done I'll take a break. And oh yeah, very important, make sure you take regular breaks and have cups of tea. I know certain people in America don't drink tea. There's that incident in Boston, but you know, water under the bridge. While I'm taking a break to have a cup of tea, I'll take you through my jacket. So this technique really works best on shrunken lamb, I find. It's got a fairly open texture. It hasn't got like a film layer on top or a completely sealed grain, so it absorbs somewhat. This is obviously a Wested, because they do the shrunken lamb. This particular jacket is my Frankenstein, my hybrid. So you'll see it's got the main body is a Temple of Doom Todd with accurate pronged buckles. But I've added some nice features. So it's got Last Crusade pockets. It's got double arm stitching like Crystal Skull. It's got a Raiders collar, and that's it really. Now, as with children's programs, here's what I did earlier. So this is my Todd jacket that's had this treatment, and afterwards I've gone over it with a scouring pad. Now, other people prefer to use fine sandpaper, and that's great and probably works better, because scouring pads can leave scratchy marks, but you know, each to their own. I quite like the scratchy marks. Maybe you've walked through thorns and thistles, but yeah, because of the lightish colour of the shrunken lamb, adding the leather dye on top means that when you do weather, you get higher contrasts, and it's quite a nice warm under colour, and I think really fitting for Indy. Just a quick insert. Tea is half done. Apologies for the coughing. I've got a broken rib, so I don't know, it means I don't breathe properly. Anyway, so you might think, oh wow, that looks great, that's just the right colour, that's the colour I was going for, so I can stop here after one coat. But remember that when you distress, you're making the jacket lighter, so sometimes in small areas, sometimes in large areas. So I recommend a second coat to go darker than you think you need to, and then you just scrub back and it gets lighter. I've charged my bucket with more dye ready for step 2, which is well, it's like step 12, but I've done storm flaps and underneath all the areas that are covered, and I'll just crack on and do a second coat all over. I doubt I really need to film that bit. It's just identical to the bit you've already seen, but another go over the top. Right, on the home straight, the main body of the jacket's had a second coat, and that's back to the sleeves. One thing to mention with sleeves is, because obviously you can't do the whole sleeve at once, don't just do that and have a solid line. Feather up to the edge, so you don't get any camera work, any harsh lines when you turn the jacket over to continue. So get in all those little nooks and crannies with the brush. Don't back again a bit on the other panels. Like I say, get right in the seams, right up to the edge. They're going to get heavily weathered anyway, it doesn't really matter. Again, feather, feather, feather. Feather, feather, feather. if you're living somewhere with wind, obviously speak to your local deity, ask him to knock it off, or her, or them. Now this is going to be difficult with one hand, but let's just carry on round, feather, feather, feather. And just keep going around and doing the seams, etc. Right, and that's it, we're pretty much done. So the only thing left really now is to check for any bits you might have missed. So checking in under action pleats, under pockets. Things are going to be a little bit sticky where they're contacted for a little while, but that's very temporary. Check you've got all your seams. So there's a little bit light in there, so I'll just dab a little bit in there just to finish it off. It's not that important because it's going to be a weather jacket. But yeah, that's it. If you're not happy with slight mottling, mine's pretty even, but if yours isn't, you go ahead and do a third coat. But if you're doing a third coat on a panel, do the whole jacket, because that panel will likely end up darker than the rest of the jacket if you only do that one panel. So that's it. It's pretty dry now, but I'd suggest leaving it a day or so before attempting any weathering. Certain areas may still be a little bit damp, especially where they might have been in contact with each other. But that's it. That's how you dye a leather jacket. Cheers, chaps.